Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here today. We've all experienced moments when someone we care about deeply walks out of our lives, leaving us with questions, confusion, and a longing for closure. Whether it was a breakup, a misunderstanding, or simply life pulling two people in different directions, it's natural to ask, will he come back? The truth is, he can, but not through chasing, begging, or waiting silently in pain. He will come back 100% if you do this one powerful thing: shift the focus from him back to you. Let me explain. You see, attraction, love, and connection are all energy-based. When someone senses your desperation, your need, or your emotional dependence, it pushes them further away. But when you reclaim your self-worth, step into your power, and rebuild your life with confidence, something magnetic happens. Don't chase, elevate. It's a concept that might sound counterintuitive when your heart is aching and all you want is for him to come back. The natural instinct is to reach out to try to fix things, to remind him of all the good times, or to beg for another chance. But what often goes unnoticed is that chasing someone, whether through texts, calls, social media, or even through indirect efforts like mutual friends, communicates one overwhelming message: I need you to feel whole. And that message, though emotionally honest, is deeply unattractive in the realm of emotional connection. When someone walks away or creates distance, it usually means they are trying to reevaluate, process, or rediscover themselves. If you immediately chase, you interrupt that process. You become the static in the signal they're trying to clear. But when you step back, not with coldness, but with intention, you allow space, and space is powerful. It allows curiosity to grow. It invites the other person to miss you. It shifts the dynamic from you needing them to them wondering about you. But here's the twist. This isn't about pretending not to care. It's about truly taking the time to turn inward. Instead of asking how to win him back, ask how you can win yourself back. What parts of you did you lose while trying to keep the relationship afloat? What did you put on hold, suppress, or silence in order to be easier or more likable in his eyes? Chasing is about making them your center. Elevating is about returning to your own. Start waking up with purpose again, not because you want him to see you glowing, but because you want to feel alive again, on your own terms. Pick up that hobby you dropped. Start working out, not for revenge, but for your own mental clarity and strength. Reconnect with friends who remind you of your value. And walk into rooms like you belong there. Because you do. Elevation is not arrogance, it's alignment. It's you remembering that your life isn't on pause until someone decides you're worthy again. It's already worthy, and so are you. When you elevate, you stop looking outward for validation. You start radiating it, and people notice. He'll notice. But even if he doesn't right away or ever, you'll be better, not because you lost him, but because you found you. And that shift in energy, that's the exact reason he'll feel drawn back. Not because you chased him, but because you became someone he never expected to lose. Focus on yourself. It's something people say all the time, but what does it actually mean when your heart is in pieces and all you can think about is him? When someone leaves or steps away, your entire emotional center often collapses into a single question: how do I get him back? But the real transformation, the kind that draws someone back not out of guilt or pressure, but out of genuine longing, comes when you shift your entire mindset from him to you. You were someone before you met him. You had dreams, quirks, passions, habits, and a whole identity that wasn't shaped by his opinions, his presence, or your relationship status. In the process of falling in love, it's so easy to begin molding parts of yourself to fit better into his world. You compromise, you adapt, you start caring about things he cares about, sometimes at the expense of your own interests. That's not inherently wrong. It's human. But when the relationship ends, you're left standing there, wondering who you are without him. That's the moment you reclaim your life. Focusing on yourself means taking the spotlight off what he's doing, thinking, posting, or feeling, and putting it back on your own healing, your own growth, and your own peace. It's not about revenge or pretending to be okay. It's about becoming genuinely okay, even better than okay. It's about creating a routine that centers you, discovering new passions or rediscovering old ones, diving into your goals and nurturing your own emotional well-being. It means waking up each day not with dread or longing, but with curiosity. What can I do today that brings me closer to the version of me I miss? It's not selfish, it's survival. Because when you become your own emotional home, you're no longer waiting for someone else to return and rescue you from the wreckage. You start to rebuild. You become stronger. And that strength is not loud or boastful. It's subtle. It's in the way you walk into a room, the way your eyes sparkle when you laugh again, the way you move with intention instead of heartbreak. He might notice, he might be drawn back by the shift in your energy, but that's not the goal anymore. The goal is you. The goal is finding that inner fire again, the one that never really went out, just flickered under the weight of heartbreak. And once that fire is back, once you focus on you, everything else has a way of aligning, including the possibility of him finding his way back. Energy speaks louder than words. You could send the longest message, explaining your feelings, apologizing, begging, or just trying to make him understand. But if your energy doesn't align with strength, self-respect, and calm confidence, your words will fall flat. People respond more to what they feel from you than what you actually say. That's why someone can tell you I'm fine, but you just know they're not. That's energy. It doesn't lie, and it can't be faked for long. When you're trying to get someone back, your instinct might be to reach out, explain yourself, or say all the right things to get their attention. But here's the truth. If your energy is coming from desperation, sadness, or emotional dependence, it comes through, even if you try to hide it. It shows in your tone, your timing, and the way you phrase things. That kind of energy doesn't draw someone in. It creates pressure. It makes them feel like they're responsible for your healing, your mood, your self-esteem. And that's a heavy weight no one wants to carry. But the reverse is just as powerful. When your energy shifts into peace, confidence, and genuine detachment, not from bitterness, but from inner healing, it radiates. You stop sending messages trying to get a response, and instead you carry yourself in a way that says, I'm okay now, with or without you. And people can feel that. Even if you don't speak a word to them, they'll sense the change. They'll start to wonder what happened. They'll feel the difference in the way you interact or don't. You become a mystery again, not because you're playing games, but because you're no longer accessible in the same way you were before. And that makes them take notice. Energy is your silent messenger. It's in the way you show up online. It's in your body language when you walk into a room. It's in the way you speak to others and the way you speak to yourself. You don't need to announce your healing, you live it. And that living, breathing transformation becomes more attractive than any perfectly worded text you could ever send. When you master your energy, you shift the dynamic. You're no longer asking to be chosen. You are choosing yourself. And that is the exact moment everything starts to change. Desperation repels, confidence attracts. It's one of those truths that becomes crystal clear when you look back on a relationship that slipped through your fingers. The more you tried to hold on, the more they pulled away. The more you begged, explained, and overextended yourself, the more they seemed to harden or drift. That's not because you weren't lovable. It's because desperation gives off a certain energy. One that says, I don't believe I'm enough without you. And no matter how loving your intentions are, that kind of energy can feel like emotional pressure. When you're in a state of desperation, your world narrows. Everything revolves around getting them back. You start analyzing every word, every silence, every social media post. You might start compromising your self-respect, sending late-night messages, accepting less than you deserve, tolerating silence or hot and cold behavior just to stay close. But here's the harsh truth. Desperation doesn't invite love, it suffocates it. Because true connection isn't born from neediness, it grows in space, in curiosity, in mutual respect. Confidence, on the other hand, is magnetic, and it's not about arrogance or pretending you're over them. It's about trusting in your own value so deeply that you don't need to chase anyone to prove it. It's walking into a room with your shoulders back and a calm in your heart that says, I know who I am. It's responding to their silence with peace instead of panic. It's knowing that your worth isn't defined by whether or not someone chooses to come back. Confidence says, I love you, but I won't lose myself to keep you. It sets boundaries without guilt. It allows you to detach without closing your heart. And that's powerful, because when someone senses that you're okay on your own, that you're not waiting in emotional limbo for their return, they start to see you differently. You go from being the one who needs them to the one they want to reconnect with. Confidence restores balance. It gives you back your power, not the power to control others, but the power to control how you respond, how you carry yourself, and how you choose to be treated. When you let go of desperation and step into confidence, you change the whole game. You stop chasing love and start attracting it. Because nothing draws someone back more than realizing you're no longer reaching for them. You've risen. And if they want to meet you again, they'll have to rise too. Rediscover your worth. It might sound like a cliche when you're sitting there in the quiet aftermath of someone walking away, questioning everything, wondering what you did wrong, if you weren't enough, or if you should have tried harder. The truth is, when someone leaves, it's not just the relationship that breaks. Often, it's your sense of self that shatters too. You begin to measure your value based on someone else's decision to stay or go. And that is where the damage truly begins. Not just from the breakup, but from the way you begin to see yourself through their absence. Your worth isn't something that disappears because someone stopped choosing you. It isn't dependent on someone's attention, validation, or affection. It's already there. It always was. But in the fog of heartbreak, it gets buried under questions, regrets, and self-blame. That's why rediscovering your worth is not about becoming something new. It's about remembering who you were before the pain and then becoming someone even stronger because of it. You are more than someone's opinion of you. You are more than a text left unread or a love story that ended too soon. You are a collection of experiences, dreams, talents, and resilience that go far beyond this moment. And sometimes it takes being broken to realize just how much strength you've been holding inside all along. That realization is where healing begins. Start small. Look at how you speak to yourself. Are you tearing yourself down for not being enough for him? Are you replaying old conversations, hoping you could go back and fix things? Stop. Because your value does not live in the past. It lives in who you are right now and who you're becoming. Give yourself grace. Talk to yourself like someone you love. Choose habits that honor your body and your mind. Show up for yourself, even when no one else does. The more you reconnect with your inner light, the more you start to feel like yourself again. Not the version of you shaped by what he wanted, but the version that existed before you felt you had to prove anything. That version of you is powerful. She's not lost. She's waiting. And here's the thing. When you start walking in your worth, everything changes. The energy you give off becomes stronger, more centered, more radiant. People begin to notice, including him. Because nothing makes someone reevaluate their choices like seeing you no longer questioning your value. Because you've finally remembered it for yourself. Glow up emotionally and physically. This isn't about revenge or trying to show him what he's missing. It's about rising for you. After heartbreak, it's easy to fall into a slump. You stay in bed longer. You stop caring about how you look. You lose interest in things that once brought you joy. Your mind becomes cluttered with what ifs and unanswered questions, and while rest is necessary, staying stuck there isn't healing. It's hiding. The glow up is your comeback. But it's not just about putting on makeup, hitting the gym, or updating your wardrobe. It's about rebuilding yourself from the inside out. Because emotional beauty, peace, confidence, joy radiates in a way no outfit ever can. When you commit to glowing up emotionally, you begin to clear the mental fog. You start addressing the pain, not just avoiding it. You journal, meditate, cry when you need to, seek therapy if it helps. You stop pretending to be fine and start actually doing the work to feel okay again. You take responsibility for your healing, which is one of the most powerful things you can do. Then you align that internal shift with external care. You move your body, not just to change how you look, but to release what's been trapped inside. Whether it's through yoga, running, dancing, or long walks, you use physical movement to reconnect with yourself. You eat to nourish. You rest to recharge. You make space in your life for things that lift you, not drain you. And slowly, as you build those habits, you begin to see it. Your posture changes. Your eyes brighten. You carry yourself differently. People can feel that. When you glow up emotionally, your standards rise. You no longer tolerate crumbs or confuse attention with affection. You start to recognize your own patterns and break them. You let go of needing someone to complete you because you've started doing that work on your own. And when the physical and emotional glow up happen together, it creates a transformation that's impossible to ignore, not just for him, but for everyone around you. The way you speak, the way you laugh, the way you handle silence, it all evolves. You become unrecognizable in the best way. And while he might come back and others may take notice, the most important part is that you begin to see yourself again, clearly, proudly, fully. The glow up is not about getting him back. It's about coming back to yourself stronger, softer, and shining like someone who has remembered her power. Create a life he wants to be part of again. That doesn't mean crafting a life for him or putting together some perfect highlight reel to make him jealous. It means building the world so rich, fulfilling, and vibrant that it reflects the real you, the version of you who is thriving, not surviving, because nothing is more attractive than a person who is clearly happy, whole, and deeply engaged in their own journey. When someone pulls away from you, especially after a breakup or distance in a relationship, their memory of you often becomes frozen in time, wrapped in the last emotional moments you shared. Maybe that memory includes arguments, tears, or a version of you that was scared to lose them. But what they don't expect is to see you step forward into a life that's full of color, growth, and movement. A life that no longer revolves around waiting, hoping, or hurting, but one that is driven by your passions, your peace, and your purpose. Start by reconnecting with your goals, the ones you had before the relationship and the ones you dreamed of but never pursued. Maybe you always wanted to travel, start a business, go back to school, or explore a creative talent. Now is the time. Begin creating a life that excites you when you wake up in the morning. Fill your calendar with experiences that nourish your soul, not just distractions that numb your feelings. Learn something new, go places you've never been, meet people who light you up. As you start doing these things, your energy shifts. You become someone who is moving forward, someone who is rooted in self-respect and curiosity for life. And as you do this, something else happens. Your standards naturally rise. You're no longer waiting for someone to come back and validate your worth because you've built a life that already reflects it. You don't have time for breadcrumbs or mixed signals because your life is too full, too joyful, too meaningful for uncertainty. This is when people start to notice, not because you've been performing, but because you've been living. He may see your glow on social media. He might hear from mutual friends about how well you're doing. Or maybe one day he simply thinks of you and feels the shift, feels that the door is no longer wide open but slightly cracked, with you on the other side, shining in a life he no longer recognizes. And that's the moment he may feel pulled back, not because you tried to get him to return, but because you stopped needing him to. By creating a life that feels good to you, you become the kind of person others want to be around again. Not because they pity your pain, but because they admire your strength. And if he does come back, it won't be out of guilt or nostalgia. It'll be because the person you've become is someone he now sees clearly, someone worth showing up for, fully. Stop seeking closure from him. That sentence might sting a little, especially when your heart is still tied up in the idea of getting answers. Answers to why he walked away, why things changed, or why he couldn't love you the way you needed. The mind craves explanation. It believes that if it can just understand what went wrong, it can make peace and move on. But closure isn't something someone else hands to you like a perfectly packaged apology or a clear roadmap through the pain. More often than not, closure is something you create for yourself when the other person won't or can't give it to you. Waiting for closure from him can become an invisible cage. You replay conversations, dissect his last words, check if he's watching your stories, and wonder if he'll ever come back to clarify it all. You convince yourself that if he just explained things better or showed genuine regret, it would set you free. But in reality, that kind of waiting keeps you stuck in a place where your healing depends on someone else's emotional availability. And if he wasn't capable of giving you what you needed in the relationship, chances are he won't be the one to give you peace in the aftermath of it either. So how do you find closure when the door was slammed shut without warning, or worse, left half open? You turn inward. You get brutally honest with yourself about what the relationship really was. Not just the good moments, but the unmet needs, the inconsistencies, the ways you shrank yourself to keep things going. You acknowledge your own part, not to blame yourself, but to reclaim your power. Because when you understand the full picture, not just the version your heart is still clinging to, you begin to accept that maybe the end was necessary for your growth. You stop romanticizing the potential and start seeing the reality. You give yourself the kind of compassion and clarity you wished he had offered, and slowly you begin to forgive. Not just him, but yourself, for staying too long, for hoping too hard, for giving more than you received. That forgiveness is where true closure begins. Not in a conversation, not in an apology, but in your decision to let go of needing him to validate your experience. When you stop seeking closure from him, you free yourself from the emotional limbo of waiting. You close the chapter on your own terms. And that is one of the most empowering things you can do, not just to heal, but to grow into the version of you who no longer needs someone else's words to understand her worth. Because she's already writing the next chapter, and this time she's the author, not the one waiting for someone else to finish the story. Don't settle for breadcrumbs. It's easy to fall into the trap of accepting less than you deserve when you're emotionally vulnerable, or when the person you want doesn't seem to be fully available. You'll tell yourself it's better to have some attention than none at all. You'll rationalize that, even though things aren't perfect, at least there's still a chance, a possibility that it might turn into something more. But here's the truth. When you accept crumbs, you're not just settling for less than you deserve. You're teaching yourself to tolerate emotional scarcity, to believe that you can have the whole loaf. The problem with breadcrumbs is that they never fill you. You might get a text here or there, a brief call, or some sweet words that temporarily light up your heart. But these are fleeting moments, and when you look deeper, you'll realize that what you're truly craving, consistency, commitment, and emotional investment, are nowhere to be found. It's easy to convince yourself that this is all you can get, especially if you're still emotionally attached or longing for the relationship to return to its previous state. But by settling for breadcrumbs, you're depriving yourself of the possibility of a love that's full, authentic, and nourishing. You deserve to be with someone who doesn't just show up when it's convenient or when they need something, but someone who is invested in you, in your happiness, and in building a future together. When you're constantly receiving breadcrumbs, you're not in a relationship, you're in a state of emotional limbo, always uncertain, always questioning, always hoping for something more that never fully arrives. And that takes a toll on your self-esteem. You begin to doubt your worth. You start to believe that maybe you're asking for too much, that maybe love is supposed to feel uncertain, distant, or inconsistent. But the truth is, love should feel like home. It should be warm, steady, and reliable. It should inspire you to grow, to be your best self, and to trust in the foundation you've built together. When you start recognizing that you're worth more than the scraps someone offers, you begin to set higher standards. Not as a form of rejection, but as a reflection of your own self-respect and understanding of your value. You stop chasing after the fleeting moments and start prioritizing the things that are lasting: trust, communication, shared vision, and emotional safety. Settling for breadcrumbs also means you're not giving yourself the opportunity to experience the fullness of love that you're capable of receiving. You're allowing your heart to be occupied by someone who isn't all in, which leaves little room for someone who will be. Think about it. When you hold space for someone who isn't emotionally available or committed, you're blocking out the possibility of someone who will cherish you, nurture you, and make you feel seen. The energy you're giving to crumbs could be better spent on yourself, filling your own life with love, peace, and fulfillment until the right person comes along, ready to give you the whole loaf. It's not easy to let go of breadcrumbs, especially when they come from someone you care about deeply. But in doing so, you're choosing to respect yourself and your needs. You're choosing to believe that you deserve more than half-hearted gestures or emotionally unavailable love. It's not about pushing someone away or trying to punish them for not giving you more. It's about making the conscious decision to step into your worth and to refuse anything less than the love that is true, constant, and full. When you stop accepting breadcrumbs, you make room for the kind of love that will nourish you from the inside out. And that in itself is one of the greatest acts of self-love you can commit. So, if you truly want him to come back, don't chase. Rise, heal, evolve. Shift your focus from what was lost to everything you still have within you, because the most powerful thing you can do isn't convincing him to return. It's becoming so grounded in your worth, so radiant in your growth, that his only choice is to see you in a new light, or risk losing you forever. Let your transformation speak louder than your words, and whether he comes back or not, you'll know this: you didn't just wait for love to return, you became it.